So welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk. My name is Brendan Bardick with Brendan Bardick Real Estate Coaching, where our mission is to train the most elite real estate agents and coaches on earth. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Daniel Dixon, who is a number one real estate team in the Front Range, Denver, Colorado area. He is a multiple business owner. He is a serial entrepreneur. He is a husband, a father, a family man. He is a human rights activist. I don't know where the guy has time to do anything, to be honest with you, because he's got so much going on. And he's also, what I really think is going to be special about this interview is he's an empire builder. He really is focused on helping people and helping agents understand that you don't just have to be an agent, or you don't have to just sell houses. There's so many places that you can take this. So Daniel, honored to have you on. I hope that intro did you justice. Welcome to the show. Tell me a little bit about your journey and your real estate philosophy.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to do this with you. You're a good buddy of mine, and it's going to be fun doing this.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I've always started in sales, right? My first sales job when I was 18 years old was being a timeshare salesman. So we were spending a lot of time on how to quickly build rapport with people, how to use neuro-linguistic programming to try to connect with people, breathing patterns, different things like that. So little did I know that, me starting my career slanging timeshares was going to get me in a nice little sales lane in real estate. So from there, when I moved to Colorado about 10 years ago, I started working at Trulia before they were bought by Zillow. And one of the things that taught me was on this journey as I'm coaching agents and teaching them how to invest in zip codes and internet marketing and market their properties and convert more clients and things like that. As I continue to do that at a high level, I realized I'm building these other people's businesses. How about we go build our own business? So back in 2013 is when I got licensed, got into the real estate space and didn't really know what I was doing, was just talking to leads, talking to people, didn't know how to write a contract or anything yet. My mentor, Kathy McKay, I remember I'd be at Trulia getting leads, converting leads. They would ask me questions about real estate, and I'm over here texting Kathy like, they just asked me this and I don't know how to respond. What should I do? And then from there, just continue to grow, leverage, push down on lead generation and continue to grow our world.
Yeah. And so now that you've grown, and let's just put that into aspects. So from Trulia / Zillow to individual agent to now you have, you're on track to do, over 100 and probably $150 million in sales this year, residential sales. How big is the team now? How many agents? What's the org chart look like? And because this has all happened, and if you think about what he really said, 2013, we're talking 7 years of this progression. What individual agent to how many people do you have now?
So right now we have 18 real estate agents, a director of operations who's kind of like my right hand, director of sales. The director of operations is Dami. So shout out to Dami.
Yeah.
Amanda, she's our director of sales. We have 5 virtual assistants that run our whole TC business. 4 loan officers, a dedicated processor, dedicated underwriter, and then a sales manager on the lending side as well.
It's unbelievable. First of all, congratulations. It's just unbelievable to see well, it's not unbelievable, it's believable, but it's impressive. It's massively impressive in such a short period of time. And I really want people to understand that is a short period of time. I know people that are still, trying to sell their 10th house and it's their 8th year or whatever it is. So taking this back to the building process. And when I say, empire builder, you kind of just made that all sound like blah, 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 like it's like no big thing. Take me through, because I want to hit on the mortgage piece a lot because I think that's massive. So we have right now residential sales and mortgage. Is there anything else that you're diving into business wise? What else? I mean, I think I know you do wholesaling. Tell us
Yeah.
about, when I say empires, what are those buckets?
Yeah. So real estate team kind of funds everything and pushes everything through our seller prospecting. We have a wholesale business. I invest in real estate as well. So we flip some houses, buy and hold some houses. The mortgage angle is another business line that we have. We have an ISA group. And then we have a title company that I have ownership interest in as well.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, so that's what we mean by the word empire is it's not just one form of revenue or income that as it's scaled. So when you looked back and we start from, that first transition, and again, shout out to Kathy McKay, right? An amazing business coach and real estate productivity coach for probably at this point, thousands of agents that are out there. But when we go back, when you started to kind of make this progression, were you looking at it, if you look back 8 years, were you like, you know what, in 8 years I'm going to have all this? Or was it, did a mentor come into play? Was there a coach? What was the switch from agent to empire builder?
Yeah, so it's a funny question because when we first started building this, Sean, who's my brother, when we first started doing this, our goal was we were going to generate leads all over the country and sell leads to agents. Little did we know agents, are kind of lazy and don't work at a really high level. So
Right.
as we first started this, we knew Florida was going to be a good market. So when we started, we were generating leads, and our business plan was to get a lead today, convert it, talk to them, schedule showings for the weekend, hop on a plane, fly to Florida, show the buyer some houses, put them under contract, and fly back home. And so it's hilarious thinking about now, like it's how just miserable that lifestyle would be in that business plan. But you got a dream, right?
Yeah.
So it was, when we first started, it was more of, I didn't really want to be a real estate agent. I didn't really have this passion to go, buy and sell houses necessarily. I've always loved real estate. I love this industry. I love everything about this industry, but I didn't really necessarily want to just go show houses and meet clients and, do all of that, which, as we started growing, we started getting a lot of leads, dealing with a lot of clients. As I've learned over time, in order to scale something, you've got to do it all yourself first. So did all of that, started realizing what leverage looks like. I had no idea that we needed a showing assistant, I was in my basement doing transactions with my mom on a big whiteboard, and she was my transaction manager at first. And so as we're going through that, as we're getting busier, I'm realizing that my time is not best spent showing our new buyers houses, right? I'll get the business, convert the business, go on that first showing with them, introduce my showing assistant, who's Willie, who's my top agent now. Create that handoff, let him go show the houses, hire an outside TC, and then start scaling that way so I can make better use of my time, which is going to be being on the phone, talking to new clients, and working on trying to build a business.
Right.
So,
and when you say that word leverage, though, you were like, hey, I'm just going to go for it? Was there a manual? Was there, like, I think of people like what you just said, it's phenomenal, but it sounds like it's, hey, did this guy wake up one day and he was just a business owner? Like he just knew how to scale this stuff? Like,
yeah, not at all. I knew nothing about business. Any jobs that I ever had, I never led people. I was never a manager of sorts or anything like that. So there was a lot of leadership growth I've had to go through over the last few years, and pushing pressure on that, which I'm sure we'll talk to here in a bit.
yeah.
But what it really was, I'm a family man, as you said in the intro, and my showing assistant, who's Willie, who's basically like my little brother, Sean, who's my actual brother, my director of operations is Dominique, who's my little sister. And so it was more providing Willie an opportunity and saying, hey, let's get you out of doing some of this additional, he was working at Nordstrom as a stock boy at the time.
Yeah.
So it was more of, hey, let's get you into this industry because we're making some cool stuff happen. And then from there it was, all right, well, where can we fit you in? He was, working his butt off doing stock from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, and then coming in, doing transactions for a couple hours, and then running showings in the afternoon. So from that, we didn't really know what we were doing. We stumbled on a lot of, we failed a lot and stumbled on a lot of stuff. And it was more like, hey, just come be a co-pilot with me, and we'll figure it out on the way. We'd be in the office, me, Sean, and Willie together, and we think we'd be working all day, but we'd really just be bullshitting the whole time, cracking jokes, pretending to make calls, and really not grinding as we do today. And our whole mindset was just like, we'll just figure it out. If we're in the office every day, we're going to get lucky. If we make phone calls, we'll stumble on some business. And then if we continue doing that over time, then we're going to end up with something cool in, fast forward a year, 2 years from now.
Yeah. No, and you were younger, right? We
Yeah.
were all kind of jerk offs when we were younger, like you didn't really think it all the way through. So we had to kind of start pulling it together. So first of all, it's a family affair, right? This is a family business. Talk to those out there that are thinking about kind of doing that same path. What are the goods, the bads, and the uglies about it?
So at first I would say, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. But one thing that's unique about our group is every leader in our world has been with us essentially since day one. So the challenges, the battles, the fights, the fighting for respect, the arguments, all of those things, we don't go through very much now. But there was plenty of times where I'm like, I'm not doing this. I remember Willie got done with real estate school and came in with 3 different brokerages information. Like, what the fuck is that for? What are you doing with that stuff?
He's like, yeah, I don't really know if I'm going to be here. Yeah, like this is not
right.
For me.
Like, what is this about? And so we went through a lot of those growing pains and a lot of those moments, and I definitely what we lacked in experience. As again, I never led people. I didn't have this. I've never owned a business before. I didn't have this leadership drive. Amanda was a nanny before she was a real estate agent who runs our sales team. Willie,
you don't have an MBA. You didn't, it wasn't a traditional path that you're like, hey, I've got the skills to run this business, right? It's
absolutely.
Like, yeah, you learned,
and for me, if I have people's loyalty and if I have people that are willing to get better, willing to learn, and that are going to allow me to drive and trust in my vision and believe in me, like I can go to battle with those people. And so we don't have, at first it wasn't. Again, you don't have the MBA. You've never run a business before. You've never run operations for a big real estate team. So we live and we learn and we make mistakes and we pivot and we grow. And
did that ever cause you any anxiety? I know for me it did, right? Where I was like, this, I got a GED, and I'm like, it was kind of always lingering in the back of my mind. I'm like, man, I really have no clue what I'm doing. So I just read, got mentors, did all that stuff. Was there ever any doubt in the back of your head?
Yeah. And I think talking to that coaching and mentor piece, the reason I really wanted to get out of production and leverage myself out was because my coach Brett was like, all right, as we first started coaching together and I'm sharing my vision of what I want this big team and I want all these ISAs and I'm thinking of scaling it this way. And he's like, all right, cool. So right now your team consists of 3 people. And if you get hit by a bus, what happens to your income? I'm like, I'm done. There's nothing that we can do. So he's like, how about we start building something that's going to long live you, that you can show other people how to drive and how to grow. And that was when the light bulb clicked for me that this isn't about how many houses I can sell, because I only have X amount of time in a day. But if I can then teach people how to do what I do, and then we can continue to teach more people and more people and more people, now we can scale and grow a pretty exceptional business and influence and change some lives along the way. So it's going that path with our group. They've always been on that same mindset. We there's some stuff that we don't know. As I'm going through, I go to my coach. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about going to school and getting an MBA. He's like, for what? I'm like, there's just so much that I don't know. Right. And I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know how to get there faster if I don't have these things. And he kept me on path of, let's be clear with where you're headed. Let's be clear with what you're doing. What do you think the books are going to get you? Learning about the stock market or learning about how to write an, extensive business plan or, multiple levels of C-suite businesses. Like that doesn't apply here. Sure. So why don't we go get real actionable intelligence, right? Real life practice. And then over time, we're going to continue to grow. That put a lot of pressure on myself to continue to grow day in and day out, week in and week out, reading books, listening to podcasts. I'm addicted to learning new information. And I think if you can stay in that lane, it's more important than any degree that you can get anywhere.
How many people do you think thought you were going to fail? right?
Not
Like
many, not many
how
people
many,
told me to my face, but
yeah.
you know what they
Yeah, like
say?
how many haters were out there being like,
Yeah.
yo, like you are a force of nature, right? And I think some people look at it and they go, yeah, this guy, he's going so fast. I've heard from people say certain things where they'll be like, he's going way too fast. That dude's
Hmm.
going way too fast, right? And you're going, I've only just begun.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so do you just have like the blinders on and you're like, fuck, I don't give a whatever they have to say. Like I'm on it. Right. Like, how did you keep the mindset clear?
So I've always had a chip on my shoulder. I've always wanted to prove other people wrong. And so as we got started in this business, I was told internet lead generation doesn't work. Nope, you got to build your business through Sphere. And our main lead source, and we generate over 1,000 leads a month for our agents, and have grown this through strictly internet lead generation. So it's you go to these KW events, you go to these other masterminds, and everyone's talking about a Sphere. And I don't ask my friends and family to do business with me. I don't
Sure.
really have a big family in that sense.
Yeah.
So
It's a different model. You have a
completely
different
different. Yeah.
model. Yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that I kept getting from people was, damn, Daniel, you said you're doing what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it begs the question. So you were doubting that I was going to do what I said I was going to do.
Right. Yeah.
So they didn't say I didn't think you weren't going to do it. But when they tell me that, I got a lot of that in year two. As I'm closed, my first year, I think I closed 36 units. And it was like, oh, what is this guy doing? And then next year, I think it was like 52 with a team of 2. And then we continue to grow and like essentially double year over year. And it's like, oh, wow, you're doing it so good seeing you doing what you say you're going to do. Most people say they're going to do this, or they have these pipe dreams. And they say they have all these dreams and ideas, and no one delivers, and they don't take action.
Right.
Right. And I think
Big
one
time.
of the things I'm really good at is execution.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I can create a plan and just attack the plan.
Yeah, and talking about that, looking at the plan. So obviously, shout out to Brett Tanner, amazing, real estate mogul, real estate coach. You spend a lot of time doing business planning. Like talk me through that. Like how many times a year? What is and when did this start? And talk to all of the listeners out there about, if I was looking at it today and I said, you know what, I want to have a real estate business that I can, wake up and be proud of, and one day walk away from and leave it into the hands of, my family or my friends or business partners. What does that plan look like?
So I think where a lot of agents fail is everyone does, business planning. And at the end of the year, like you do your business planning, you look at what you did this year and you evaluate where you're at, and you make an assumption of what you're going to do next year. Where I think agents fail the most is they create this nice little plan right here, and they go ahead and tuck it away.
Totally.
And they'll look at it again in December and see how we did. Like, in order to do this, like, you have to be tracking day in and day out, week in and week out. What am I doing? What matters most? And how do I continue to progress and grow my business? And I think that agents don't pay attention enough to we want to sell, $5 million in real estate. Awesome. What does that break down to monthly? Awesome. What does that break down to weekly? Great. How many calls do you need to make to get there? How many clients do you need to get there? What does your day-to-day, week-to-week look like? I think when you look at, I heard this analogy, I don't remember where I heard it, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yep.
And I think if agents focus more on the day-to-day, week over week, what am I doing, measuring your business on how well it's going, I think we focus a lot, what we call them as lag metrics. And your lag metrics will lead to your leading metrics. Agents focus on closings. We focus on phone calls. And if we make enough phone calls, the closings will be a byproduct of all of our hard work. So we have a lot of process-driven goals that we stay very focused and driven on. Because again, if we can stay in that lane and drive those actions and drive that activity day in and day out, we're going to have multiple closings, month in and month out.
Yeah. And how are you tracking this information? Is there technology that you're utilizing? This has got to be, especially with 20, 30, 40 people, an absolute monster to how do you keep your finger on the pulse of it? What technology are you using?
Yeah. So CRMs, I've tried just about every CRM that's out there. One of the things I was blessed with being at Trulia, I knew how to do the internet lead stuff. I knew it was going to be the changing of our industry. But as I was getting out, I was interviewing a lot of these big hitters, and I'm asking questions like, what CRM do you use? What CRM do you think is the best? And I'm peppering these people with questions that are going to help me become a real estate agent. And then the reason I'm here with KW is because the overwhelming whether overwhelming support, whether they're with KW or not, or like start your career at KW.
Yeah.
They have the best training, they have the best resources. Stay there, do your thing for a couple of years, and then figure out what happens next. And so as far as technology goes, our CRM that we use is Boomtown. So we use Boomtown, and that's where we get all of our analytics on our team, how many leads are produced, are the agents working the leads, all the details around that. And then we have a couple other systems that we use. We use Mojo for our dialers, tracking phone calls, conversations, contacts, conversations, talk time, different things like that. And then one of the biggest plugs that I want to promote that has really helped change our business as we've grown this team is something called Sisu. So Sisu plugs into all of our other CRM, all of our other systems. And so as an agent logs a call in Boomtown, when they reach out to a client, it reports to Sisu. And Sisu, we used to track everything using just spreadsheets. And so every week we're looking and trying to, it's hard to get the agents to buy in on just numbers on a big spreadsheet. And what this does, this feeds into visuals and graphics to show and rank leaderboards. They have these like circles and shows you how far progressed you are on that circle, on that goal.
It's really cool, and it makes it like a game almost. It makes it more fun instead of here's the formula in my Excel spreadsheet, right? They and in competition, and I want to touch on this too for a second. Competition is healthy, right? Mm-hmm. You want to have people trying to beat Willie or Amanda or the person next to him, or at least now they're in different roles, doing different things. But it's that healthy competition that keeps people driving forward. So Boomtown, Mojo for your multiple dialer. It's triple line dialer for those listening out there that don't know what Mojo is. You're using Sisu to keep the activities front and center, making sure everybody's focused on what they need to be doing. When I call the Dixon group, who answers the phone?
So it depends on what line you call. So again, we're back to tracking. Every different lead source has a different unique phone number. So not only that we can track, we also use something that really, we integrated this about probably a year and a half ago, something called Zapier. Yeah. And so what Zapier does, Zapier allows things to come into one thing and then be pushed out to 2 or 3 additional things. So we'll have a phone call come in, a sign call. So we have a unique telephone number on all of our signs where a client is out front. That phone call comes in, that gets routed to 2 or 3 additional agents or one of our ISAs. And then that lead is automatically plugged and pushed into Boomtown.
Gotcha. Excellent. And then distributed from there.
So it depends on what line you call. If you're calling our rent to own product, that's a different unique number that rings an ISA. If you're calling a callback number from our prospecting, that rings a different line. So we can track and see, again, what matters most, where are we spending our time, what is working, what is not working. Again, real estate agents, we want to spend money on the bright, new, shiny thing and have no idea where it's coming from, where their business is coming from. Again, when I was at Trulia and we're going through how many closings have you had? Oh, I've had 12. You have? Are you sure? And then they go back and go, well, 6 of those were Spear. Like you have no idea. People have no idea what's going on. And one of the biggest things that agents should do when they start is build out what those tracking things are. Identify each lead source and put it into a different bucket, because your follow-up, your script, your communication, your drips, everything is going to be different based on what lead source and what bucket those people are coming into.
Yeah, completely. But if you're not looking at it, you don't know. Everybody has their head in the sand. Weeks, months, years go by, and I talk to agents all the time, and they're like, "I've got a database," and I'm like, "Okay, so how?" Like you just said, I talk to agents all the time, and I go, "How many houses have you sold this year?" And they don't know. Right. I'm like, and I know the number's not like 200. I'm like, well, it's either 3, 5, or 12, and they don't even know that. And so it's like, how can you get any better from that type of stuff? So, okay, so the technology makes sense and the structure, and we'll then talk about, so, we'll move into kind of mortgage here and some of the other avenues of the empire building segment. But on just the real estate team alone, if you could, time travel, go back in time, what would you have done earlier? Would you have done anything different? What would you have made any changes there? If you could say, hey, look, knowing what I know now, I would have done X.
Yeah. I think
with just the real estate.
Yeah. There's a couple of things. The first thing is I would have invested in Boomtown earlier. So I waited 2.5 years to do Boomtown because I'm trying to find a less expensive option. So we're
Sure.
using Follow Up Boss and we're using Top Producer and we're using these things that work in one area but don't work in another area. And then as we continue to grow, those systems don't work for a big team, which is when we bit the bullet and started paying for Boomtown. But I would have started that earlier. I mean, if we would have had the leads coming in, having them in these different buckets, having the drip set up this way, the e-alerts, the analytics, everything else like that, it would have been much more clear as to what's going on. And we would have piped way more business in year 2, year 3, year 4, and so on. It would have been a better
Gotcha.
scenario. And then I would have had a coach earlier. I was this, smart kid that thought I knew what I was doing with internet lead generation. And I know that really well, but I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to be a really, really, really good agent. I don't know the shortcuts.
Right.
And what my coach has done for me is he's given me his 15 years of experience in 3. And I mean, it's invaluable at that point, being able to shorten the gap and bridge that gap of knowledge where I don't have to make the same mistakes or wait on the sideline for 6 years to get something through. Now I can get, these frustrations of having a coach and, he's my life coach, my real estate coach, my friend. Like, he hits all these different buckets for me. And if I would have had that earlier in my career, then, we would have been able to take off faster.
Yeah. And that's massive. So what we're hearing there is, Boomtown, a better technology platform would have helped earlier on. And then obviously getting coaching and mentoring earlier on. Did you have any coaches before your current coach? What was the interview process? I get that question a lot of times. They're like, well, do I just pick a name or a company? How did you end up with selection of your coach?
So it's really interesting how we met. An agent in our office, Nick Evans, was coaching with Brett. And as Nick was building his business, a lot of people were complaining that his ISA group was too loud and all these things. I'm like, this is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of defending him and, created a relationship with him. And he stepped out of coaching with Brett and he's like, you want to take over? And at the time, Brett was only coaching 4 or 5 people across the country. Yeah. I kept checking with Tom Ferry coaches or MAPS coaches, and I couldn't get somebody to align with the vision of what I wanted to build. It was, all right, how many calls did you make? And it was the high accountability around what lead source are we calling and different things like that. And I didn't feel like anyone was giving me the growth that I needed not to be a really good agent, but to start transitioning and leveraging to become a really good business owner.
Yeah, you needed a business and life coach, not somebody to teach you how to sell a house, right? Or to keep you accountable for selling houses. And that's why there's different coaches that fit different things, which is fascinating. So then obviously that was a pinnacle piece, and that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
That was 4 years ago now, yeah.
4 years ago. And I think if we were to, have a graphic here or a chart, you were always improving, but then from that 4-year mark, it was like, pew, right? Yeah. Right. And I'm not saying it's because of him. It was because of your ability to listen and be coachable. And that's a big problem too. I have a lot of people being like, so I had a coach and, I was coached for 6 months and, I just didn't like what they kept telling me to do. And they were always trying to hold me accountable. They wanted me to send my P&L and I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And I'm like, then why did you want to coach? Right. Like if they're looking for this diet pill and where and knowing you were much more like, you want my P&L? Cool. Well, first of all, let me make one because I don't have one right just yet. Probably, how I was like, I'm scrambling behind the scenes, right? And then you were like, I'm just going to be honest. Hey, coach, here's where I'm at. Here's what I don't know. Here's what I need your help with. And it's not always easy, right? You have to do some very uncomfortable stuff to make you progress. He took your thermostat and you were chilling at 73 and he was like, all right, screw that. We're going to 95 and he's either going to burn to death or he's going to step up. Right. And that's kind of how it was.
It was very much of that. It was very much of him continuing to push. One of the things I told myself when I first started coaching is I'm never going to lie to my coach. And if he tells me I need to do something and it's not done, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, we got that done. I'm like, you know what? It didn't get done. Right. And I'll put that pressure on myself to make sure that it is done. And that's what continues to push me each week is I still have action items. And I have a coaching call this afternoon and I'm looking at my coaching sheet last week, early part of this week, like I still have items that need to get accomplished prior to my call because I'm hiring you to help push me. And that hockey stick growth that I'm experiencing now is only because we continue to put pressure on the things that matter most. And there's been a ton of failures. I mean, we've hired a bunch of agents, fired a bunch of agents, people quit. Like, it's been a disaster over the last couple of years, but I feel like we found our rhythm, and we found our momentum at this point. And now it's about, let's double down and go faster and faster and faster. But Brett told me a long time ago, the sum of average is exceptional. And you don't want to continue to. I've told him probably on 4 different occasions, I'm done with 15 different personalities. We're not doing this. Tired of it. I'm gonna pour into 6 people. And his response is always, D, they're leaving. Whether they leave in 2 years, whether they leave in 4 years, like whether they leave in 6 months, they're out of here. So why are we wanting to pour into just a small group? Because if I get one of my agents to 50 or 60 units a year and they bounce, I now have to replace 50 or 60 units a year. If we're trying to get down to, we lose an 18 unit a year producer, it's very easy for us to replace those 18 units.
Right.
Way more difficult at 60.
Well, exactly. And when we look at that model, right, your model is very unique. Well, maybe not necessarily unique. The structure of it, as you just said, hiring and firing and things that you've learned over the last few years here. Tell me about, again, so we've got technology that we would go back and kind of do earlier. We'd go back and get a little bit of coaching. Now every part of your business is built upon the success of others, right? Mm-hmm. In some, not solely, but it's human personnel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You manage and coach and motivate and do all that. So looking at it from your first hire to how you're hiring now, what's changed?
The biggest thing that we drilled down on, we don't go through the KPA process. We glance at a disc. We have a phone call, and you gotta make Amanda feel good in her belly about you. There has to be some sort of connection. We've got to feel something at the very beginning. What we say is we don't hire talent. We hire attitude, and we train talent. And so a lot of our agents are brand new agents starting out in the business that we can pour into. We can teach them our way. We've tried with the seasoned real estate agent. I don't want to hear about how you used to do it at Remax or how you so-and-so used to do this. Like, I'm always open for new information, but this sauce works. This secret sauce works. And we need you to buy in, drink this Kool-Aid. And if you do that and you keep your head down and you continue to grind, you're going to be wildly successful.
Right. And with that, exactly right. And when you're looking at the culture, they have to, from what I've seen in our previous conversations, they have to have some grit, right? They've got to have, you're not looking for people that, grew up on a yacht and were like, hey, like my life was super chill. And so can I come kick it with you guys? Right. That's probably not going to be the fit, because the model is riddled with rejection. Mm-hmm. Right. These people have to be used to being kicked in the teeth. Every day, what we do in real estate is it's not always this puppy dogs and rose petals. Right. It's a lot of rejection. So talk me through the cadence, right? The weekly cadence. What does an average day look like for the organization? How do you keep them motivated? What does that look like?
So going back to your last question real quick, what I would be doing differently with our hiring in agents before is just more of a mindset thing. Like I said, we don't do the disc, we don't do the KPA. You got to make us feel good. And then the proof's in the pudding. So you got to come in, you got to have that chip on your shoulder. I want to know what adversity looks like to you in your life. Like, what have you overcome? And if you've overcome some things in your life and you want to be great, we were just hiring people at one point. And the conversations with our agents now are, listen, we're the top team and you've got to carry your weight around here or you're going to be pushed out really fast. So if you're 4 units a year, like, we're good. It's going to take too much time, effort, and attention to deal with that. We need someone who wants to be wildly successful. Well, so that's what's changed in that lane.
Yeah, I think we both went through it where we thought the model was recruiting and not hiring. Right. And I think we both learned very quickly maybe not as quickly as we wished. Myself, talking about myself, is where I go, hey, you seem like you want to, you look cool. You said you wanted to sell some houses. I have tons of leads. Let's stick those two together and it didn't work,
It
right?
didn't work at all.
Man, it didn't work. And then the betrayal and the the gossip and the crying and the, all that, John, I was just like, and this is where, to your credit, most people, I mean, think about how many people tried to screw you over as far as agents. Maybe screw you over, maybe not the right word, maybe it is, right? Where you were just like, I'm sure there was days where you're like, I'm not doing a team, right? Like, I can't take it another day. This person who I thought I trusted just gave me the finger. And you're like, I'm going to go sell real estate by myself and they can all suck it, right? Did those days ever come?
Without a doubt. And again, that's the testament to, having a good coach, because he's like, D, you're in the middle of the wildfire and I'm 5,000 feet above you trying to guide you. We never talked about you building a high producing 6-person team. Like, that's never been our plan. So why are you getting off message now?
Right.
And that continued realignment is so incredibly important, because I would have had 6 different business plans and 17 different business models on what I'm doing if I didn't have that guidance and that coaching on, here's what works. I've already been there. I've already done it. Here's what works. Continue to stay true to that and continue to stay on point with that.
Yeah, you've been always a great, as you said, you're an excellent coachable learner. I know you were just going through Tony Robbins' virtual event, right? You've done, almost at any event I've been at, you've been there. I know that. So, I think people don't realize that. I talk about this, like, people joke about like LeBron James and how much he spends on coaches and trainers, and it's something like $500,000 a year, and that might not even be the right amount.
Yeah.
What do you feel that you spend a year, if you just had to ballpark it, on education, whether that means going, well, with COVID, conferences has kind of screwed us, but whatever, but like on like, what is this, so people can understand how much you're investing in yourself, how much, what do you think you're putting out for self-development?
It's probably 75 to 90,000 a year, depending on what's going on. And if you include travel and lodging and all of that stuff.
I hope the one thing people take away from listening to this, I mean, you're talking $75,000 to $90,000 a year for education every year, right? This isn't like it was like you just thought, and because then they look at it, they go, "What?" Like, I remember, and I'm sure you remember this when you first signed up for coaching. Mine was way back with Mike Ferry, and when they told me $1,000 a month, I was like, "Are you insane?" I was like, I will lease a Benz and you can stick your $1,000 up your ass. Cause I was like, it didn't make any sense to me. And once I did it, it was the same thing. It was like, boom, the business just lit on, it exploded. So where did you, obviously people maybe not everybody listening right now is like, I got an extra 90 grand to spend on education. Where did it start at? What was the first cost, right? What was it like a few years ago?
A few years ago, I think I was starting at somewhere around 24 or 30,000 a year just to coach. I mean, Brett's a very, very special person.
Yeah.
And so it was something like that. And then we had the mega camps and the family reunions and the Mike Ferry events and
conferences,
all the rest of that stuff. The Tony Robbins event that I just went to was 12 grand, and it's a ton of money. But my focus is how do I at least 4x that investment?
Yeah.
And the nuggets that I got in that class, I'm easily going to make an extra $50,000 next year, like easy, hands down. And what I've invested, even if I'm at $100,000 a year, I mean, don't tell Brett this, but I'd pay Brett $400,000 a year with the amount of value that I'm getting in my life, my business, my real estate mind, investing in notes, wholesale business, like everything that we are building is because I have someone who's guiding me and leading me in such an incredible way. So it's invaluable. And I did the same thing. I'm like, hey, you want what per month? How many leads I can get with that? Why would I do that? Yeah. And then just jumped in. And then from that point forward, I've never thought about canceling coaching in any capacity, because every time I meet with my coach, I'm getting a tremendous amount of value into how I can continue to grow and scale my business.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I commend you on it, because I think, all the top producers I talk to, they all say the same thing, same exact thing. It's education and coach, education, coach, and accountability, education, coach, and accountability. So cool. Well, we get that. We're going to close that book. That's awesome. So now let's talk about mortgage, right? So first we dominate real estate, and you're still dominating it. And as I said, number one team in Colorado, real estate team, absolutely, crushing it. Now you're like, hey, that's not enough. I want more. So tell me about progression to mortgage. And then, we can maybe hit on a little bit of the title, but I think the mortgage is the much more exciting piece.
Yeah. So after the timeshare job, when I was 18, when I was early 20s, I was working in the mortgage industry. I worked for a company called Lending Tree back in California,
Yeah.
and I was originating mortgages all over the country. So I'm working in an office. I have my headset on. I'm converting people online. Leads are coming in, doing a ton of loans. And then the market collapsed and didn't really think about getting into the mortgage space again. So as little did I know that, by growing the real estate team, it was never like real estate first and mortgage is going to come and all of these things. Mortgage got built by the failures in dealing with lenders and the constant failures in dealing with lenders and the constant mistakes they'd make and not being available. And so as I'm growing this team, we do a lot of internet lead generation. And when somebody's ready to talk to a lender and pull an app, like I need that done today. I need that done like right now. We can't have that be done on your schedule sometime tomorrow or maybe over the weekend. So I kept hitting this wall of no matter how experienced a loan officer was, you don't have the ability to scale with my team. So how do we do that? And as we kept, it's 7:00 at night and someone needs an app taken and no lenders are available. And all of a sudden we lose that lead. Agent gets frustrated. I'm having to have a conversation with the lender. And at the end of the day, you can only control, when you're partnering with somebody, you can only control them so much. And so I said, you know what? Done with this. I'm going to go build my own team that can just service my real estate team because our conversion will skyrocket. And
it did.
And it truly did. And through COVID, what COVID gained, I got licensed as a mortgage loan officer in April of last year. And there's been so many failures and things that I didn't know. And it's been so difficult, but we found our rhythm now. But through COVID, and we had to start. We're big on our day for our agents prior to COVID was you're in the office by 9 a.m. We have a huddle. We lead generate from 9:30 to 11:30 or so. You get your 2 hours on the dialer, showings in the afternoon, and so on. So our culture was we could keep a pulse on it a whole lot better because everyone's in the actual building every day. When an agent's going, they're acting weird, they're low energy. We can start getting an idea who's leaving next because everyone's right there. Right. And so COVID hits and we can't have everybody in the office. And one of the challenges we were having was, what are we supposed to do with mortgages? Like if we have someone on the phone right now that wants to take an app, and it dawned on us, why don't we work this warm transfer process? So then we started figuring out, again, this wouldn't work with any other lender who we always have somebody available at this point now. And lenders, it wouldn't work that way. So with our group, COVID started saying, okay, well, we're lead generating. We have somebody available. Let me warm transfer and get one of my lenders on the phone. And we started taking apps on the spot. And then it was like, whoa, this is increasing our conversion. This is where agents aren't chasing leads that aren't qualified because we know right now what's happening with you and where you're at. And we create more of a synergy between the two companies to be able to convert the lead faster, give them a higher level of service, increase communication between both parties. And we have smoother closings than we dealt with in working with other real estate or other mortgage companies.
Gotcha.
So
wow.
I'm somewhat of a control freak, and I just wanted to control the process so I can continue to grow and scale the process.
Yeah. Well, I think you look at some of these lenders and it's like you just said, oh, hey, I'll take you to a basketball game or all this to earn your business. And it's like, you don't need that. What I need is flawless execution, right? Is what I care about more so than any of that. I can go to, I don't want to go to a basketball game with you, to be quite honest.
To be quite honest.
You know what I mean? So when you're looking at that and the mortgage side of it, is there any concerns? I get questions this all the time. Is there any conflict of interest, or is there any, you can't push one lender on my team? What's the inside legal beagle type stuff that you got to be worried about?
So we over disclose. We send disclosures out that we don't need to send. We want to be very clear that I'm going to be profiting on the loan and I own the real estate company. From day one, very, very clear for all parties. We refer multiple lenders to our clients. We want to be of value. Our mortgage company, we do so much business that we can keep our fees super skinny and we have the lowest rates and fees in town. So we're actually doing a really, really solid for our clients. Because when you're shopping with American Finance or Cross Country or any of these other companies, no one comes close to our rate. So they're winning tremendously. And what Brett has taught me over time is like, as I start making this money and where we're investing in, let's not go buy a Subway, right? Let's not go buy a franchise that's outside of what you do all day, every day. what are other businesses that we can build that just tack right onto what you're currently doing at a high level? And it's probably about a year and a half ago is when it went mortgage. Oh shit. We're 75% buyer business. Like, oh my goodness, not only can we convert higher, we can monetize that, and it's not going to change anything on what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And we can increase client service. How many times do we get to closing and the docs aren't there for the client?
Completely.
Or
Well, like you just said too, though, here's the piece. Then you kind of slid right over it. This is a different piece about your team as well. Is you're going to be, on track to do, 400 some odd transactions. 70 to 80% of it is buy side, and that's different, right? Than a lot of what we're told in our real estate structures, where listings,
Right.
listings. And when we look at that, especially with the mortgage piece, you're going, well, hey, if I'm doing all the buy sides, first of all, why the philosophy of being buy side heavy?
That's what I know better.
Okay.
I can
So it's
spend
comfortability.
it's comfortable, and then I can manage it. You can't buy listings. You've got to prospect. You got to talk to people. You've got to build a lot of these people that run listing based businesses. They've been in the business for 15, 20 years. So a lot of their sellers are their buyers that closed originally. And I think the failure for a lot of people is every buyer is going to be a future seller if you do it right.
Yep.
And every buyer that we know, I know how to generate the buyer, I know how to convert the buyer. Frankly, a lot of times I'd rather work with buyers and sellers anyway.
Yeah.
So
because like you just said, every buyer isn't a future seller. Not every seller. 50% of sellers are moving out of state or whatever the percentage is. And so, yeah, I think people listening to this will be like, I'm sorry, what? Like that's against everything I've ever been told. And the other thing is, and I'm an analyst of numbers, right? When I look at your numbers, is your average commission is so much higher because you're not taking a hit on negotiating on list side, because it's very rare that somebody's not offering out the full buy side commission, where on the list side, you're getting hit with, well, Susie Swanson will do it for 5%. Jonathan Dingleberry will do it for whatever. And you're eating it and you're maybe giving out a referral fee, and you're maybe doing all of this. So you'll actually have the volume that you sell, you're making almost probably 20% to I've looked at your numbers. It's almost 30% more on average than every other agents that are doing the same unit count as you or volume count as you, because it's so buyer heavy.
Yep. And I mean, again, every seminar we go to,
leads, listings, leverage,
listings, like says it in the red book, like constantly. And so back to your question earlier about people telling you can't do it. I got told constantly, like, why are you running a buyer-based business? I'm like, I'm comfortable here. I can control the transaction with my first-time home buyers. On a listing side, sometimes they pull the plug right before closing. You got to start over, and your seller's pissed, and you had no idea, and there's nothing you could do. So I think it's a comfort place for me. It's what I knew the best. And it's a matter of knowing your numbers to know how many leads do we need to produce at the conversion rate that we typically convert at is going to equal this amount of business. From that amount of business at this amount of commission per transaction leads to estimated gross commission numbers of this. I feel like I can control my income a lot better, knowing that I have to pay. I mean, we pay a lot of money for lead generation. I mean, in excess of 30 grand a month in leads, like it's a ton. But when you're doing it at a high level and you have these different buckets you can put people in, then it's really easy to really just know your numbers.
Yeah. Well, $30,000 a month in leads when you're making $200,000. I'm not saying that's your number. Then becomes, it's all scalability. It's ratio. Now, here's a fascinating thing that I also want people to really understand that too, is when you're talking about internet leads, 90% of internet leads are buyer leads, right? So this is the hard part, is I deal with people all the time, and myself included, where I'm like, I really want to focus on seller internet leads. You know how hard that is to do and how expensive it is to do? And also, most seller internet leads are terrible because they're going on a what's your home worth, or if they have to sell their house, they know there's 19 guys that want to sell it, guys and gals that want to sell it. The buyer leads that come through, we know that a portion of those buyers also already own a home who need to sell. So you might get the twofer there. And if you're training a sales force to really focus in on that conversion of that buyer, it's like I just said, 90% of all internet leads are buyer leads. So you're not trying to, I on my team, and I'll be very honest, my agents look at it and they're like, another buyer lead. I don't want to deal with that, Brendan. Get me a perfect little bow tied listing. And they're all great. I'm not saying that it's not that. It's just the mythology, including myself, our mindset has been taught that those who take the listings are the coolest, right? They got it all figured out. But you have a different model. And I'm not saying the people that do a listing-based business are wrong. There's just two sides of this where it's very interesting. Like, I think you're probably the only team that I know, at least in our area or that I know, that is running that kind of play. And it's exploded. It's worked beyond. And now you're going, plus I got mortgage, so I'm going to go ahead and crush it on that. I'm sure, as far as empire building with the title, you're getting a piece of title, you're getting a piece of title refi. I know we're working on different projects for even making it, again, cutting out even more of the middleman, if you will, in a lot of aspects. So mortgage, title, what else is on the horizon, or is there anything else, or is that enough for right now?
That's enough for right now. What we're focusing on right now, the first vision was, okay, I'll get licensed and I'll be the loan officer. I'm no longer in production, so I'm not going to be on the purchase contract. It's completely legal. Like, it's a lot of people like, it's illegal to do that. I'm like, no, check with your people. I mean, I'm going to my lawyers. I'm saying, how do we do this? This is not a matter of can I do it? It's how do we do it? Completely. How do I make this work? And from there, it was, okay, let's have this mortgage group service our real estate team. And we're there. So the next thing is now growing our mortgage branch, working with outside agents, working with other big teams across the country and servicing. We're licensed in 4 states right now. So taking on that refi business from our network in other areas. One of the unique things that our agents do for follow-up is they're calling just from a place of contribution and pitching a refi. And our agents don't make any money from it, but it opens up the conversation that's much stronger than, hey, I'm just calling to follow up. Like, no, call with intention, call with purpose.
Like you just said, it opens up the conversation. Well, and then looking at that, we hear the trigger, the hot phrase is expansion. Are you looking to do expansion? And that word can mean a lot of different things for people. I mean, expanding the mortgage company, business, you're obviously in 4 states, but meaning you don't need to be in 4 different states physically. Exactly. Obviously, that's the nice part. So what when I say, I got all these agents going, the only way you're ever going to do it, Brendan, is you got to expand. You got to have different offices, and you got to sell this snake oil. And I'm not saying some of them are good. I'm just saying most of them are not, because they end up being on our real estate teams, right? They're like, I came from XYZ's expansion team. I came from XYZ's expansion team. So are there plans to go in different states, or is it create the massive hub here?
So 2 years ago, I was leaving Denver because I run a buyer-based business and there's no inventory. And so where inventory was Florida. So we expanded to Florida. My brother moved out there to start growing that business. As I've talked about expansion with Brett, I mean, Brett's in a lot of these rooms with a lot of these people that ran expansion. Yeah. He's like, expand when you don't have enough units in your market. So why go try to find another Amanda in Texas and then drill and hold her accountable and push and have the expense and have all this other overhead and chaos when we have 50,000 units or whatever, 45,000 units in Denver. Totally. So our model is more drilled down right now. We might have a satellite office in the Springs. It's kind of what we're talking about right now. Sure. Outside of the state, no. The expansion is going to be led through the mortgage group. So the thought process now is we'll start purchasing leads in other states. We'll have our ISAs converting those leads, getting those leads with the lender, getting them qualified, and then I have no overhead cost, and I can still get a 30 or 35% referral fee, giving a fully qualified buyer to an agent in whatever state that we start generating in. So I think it's a safer way to do the expansion. But as far as having agents and running multiple teams in multiple areas, I'm a homebody. I'm not wanting to travel. I mean, I want to be in Vegas. I want to be in Arizona and these other places, but I'm not flying multiple times a week or multiple times a month and taking time away from my kids.
Well, you want to be in Vegas to have fun. Let's be very, that's the only reason. That's the only reason I want to go to Vegas. I don't want to go to Vegas and sell houses ever. So,
for sure.
All right. Well, then looking at that too, and I'm going to say this as bluntly as I can, and I'll just say it. How much does ego fuck with you? Let's just say it as it is, right?
I've talked with you about this. You've had to scold me and and coached me up in a couple areas regarding my ego. So it's been a journey for me. One of the best books I've read is Ego is the Enemy. And it really gets you focused on, it's not about you. I mean, I used to be this, you're not doing what I'm doing. I sell hundreds of houses a year. You're not like me. And that doesn't get anyone anywhere. Like, let's create a relationship with people and help us all get to the closing table. So it's been a journey for me in learning that and realizing I don't really compare myself to people anymore, or, I do more business, or I've sold more homes or different things like that. As a matter of fact, it's a little bit opposite now, where if you actually play into the other agent's ego and talk about how great they are and how smart they are, and wow, you've been doing this for a while, game changing.
Yeah. Well, you're playing chess, not checkers, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the hard thing. I think both of us went through a phase where we were both playing checkers, and we were so strong that we were winning, right? But we were still leaving a lot of money on the table because we were like, hey, I speak for myself. It was just pure ego and arrogance, right?
Yeah,
and now I'm learning, and you, same thing on your team, is you've got people that have been with you for years, right?
Yeah.
Years. And then you've got people that are just going to come through revolving through the door, right? And it's unfortunate, it's a nature of our game. The loyalty factor is heartbreaking, and then people, they give you all their advice, and you should do this and you do that. I think what the takeaway for a lot of people listening is, you can do it your way, as long as, I know you're also a big proponent, you can do it your own way as long as you have a plan, right? People try to do it their own way, but they didn't look at the logistics behind it. You didn't wake up and be like, hey, I'm just going to try to run with this buyer side thing and see if it all freaking pans out. Like, well, like, fingers crossed, like, let's go with it. You were going, hey, look, here's what I'm good at. Here's what I know my lead input is. I know for X amount of leads, when I give it to X amount of agents, I make X amount of dollars. And if I make those X amount of sales, then there'll be X amount of refis that turn into X amount of repeat business that turn, you know what I mean? It's
exactly.
do. And that's a strategy that takes a tactician, that takes mindset, and it takes someone else looking at your strategy going, I don't know if maybe that piece is right. Like you said, the aerial view of your coach going, well, but hold on, take a step back. Like if you do that move and that move, maybe that won't work out. And it's nice having that person. So
we focus a lot on what, why, how.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And if you do that, you'll figure out the how. A lot of people make the mistake and they go how first. And you create this beautiful plan, but you don't know what you're doing or why it matters. And I think that's a really easy, simple formula for people to figure out, is just what, why, how. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And how do I do it at a high level? And if that is just your thought process as you anticipate a new business idea, a new lead generation source, a new opportunity, any and all of these things, just what, why, how. Makes it really clear, really simple, really easy.
I love it. What, why, how. I'm going to even use that, because I think a lot of time I'm like who, what, where, so, and I think a lot of us are programmed that way. Then Daniel, with the business growing exponentially, all of the success that you're having, I know a lot of people listening to this will maybe want to be saying, hey, I want to connect with Daniel and either, apply to be a part of his organization. I might know somebody that would like to be involved in his organization. What should they do? We're going to put all of your contact info and website and all that stuff below. What's the best way to start the process, and who are you looking for?
So we're looking for just driven individuals. Like, I'll teach you everything that you need to know. Amanda will teach you everything you need to know. You'll be around our hitters that teach you everything that you need to know to be great. One thing I heard at Mega Camp, or a family reunion this year, which is mind blowing to me. We've always heard that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. Our job as leaders is we got to figure out, how do we make them thirsty? Right?
How do we make them thirsty?
How do I make you thirsty? And that is what we can.
That's the $1 million question right there.
Legit, right? And so you're going to have people that are going to be stallions. You're going to have people that want to just, and I say average, and I don't think anyone in our organization is average by any means, but there's some people, like, I eat, sleep, breathe, live this business day in and day out. And the people who produce at a really high level do it as well. And I think people get into real estate with the wrong mindset. They get in because they want to make their own schedule. They get in because, their friends are buying and selling houses. They think they're going to capture that business. And you're going to capture some of it, but you're going to have to grind. And we get so You ever ask a new real estate agent what they want to make, and all of them want to make 100K. And when you evaluate that, like, who else do you know in your network that makes $100,000? And
Yes.
what does their world look like day in and day out? How many of them are waking up at 10 a.m. and just, putting in 3 hours a day?
Totally.
And so we drill people a little bit more on interviews now on where's your mindset at. Where our building is right across from Macy's, and me, Amanda, and Dami would sit there and banging our head against the wall. Like, why, if you worked at Macy's making $11 an hour, you're going to put in a full 40-hour work week, but you work here and have unlimited potential and you work 22 hours a week? Like, what the hell are we doing? Why do you get more at Macy's than you're going to get here? And
it's mind numbing, right? I mean,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we look at it and people go, because I took I spent $500 to get a real estate license, I should make $100,000. And you hit the nail on the head. They just don't want to put in the heart to do it, which is really, if you're getting a real estate license, you're becoming an entrepreneur in a lot of ways. And what people hear, that when they hear entrepreneur, they think, I work from a yacht and I'm an entrepreneur. And it's like, right. No, that means that you eat, sleep, live, and breathe. Your work is your passion. You have a great family and you have all this other stuff, but it's a lifestyle. It's not well, I want to have a work-life balance. Then go work at FedEx. I say it all the time. You want work-life balance? This is not for you. You should not be here. And there's nothing wrong with working at FedEx. Good. That's what you should be doing, but you're not going to like it here. All right. So
we're leaving.
Yeah, we want
this last point.
Please, yeah.
We're leaving so much meat on the bone, and it's frustrating. And our agents are like, well, we feel like we're doing enough. And you take these people who are making 30, 35,000 a year, they're on pace to make 70. Do they really need to make 120?
Sure.
And so my saying is clarity equals speed. And so I don't care if your goal is to make 65,000 this year, awesome. I support you. I'm on it. Not mad. Cool. That's great. That's going to change your life. Phenomenal. Let's be clear and have that as your goal. Because if you tell me you want to make 150 and we back out all those goals and you're not on pace to make 150, then I'm going to be up your ass. Let's get clear on where you're headed and what you want, and then lean on me to help you get there.
Well, people
just lie. They lie about what they want. They lie about what they want to become. Everybody wants to eat. Nobody wants to hunt. Right. And so back to people we're looking for, like, we're looking for people that want to hunt. We're looking for people that want to make 250K a year. A lot of the reason that we have the stickiness in our group is because I don't just teach agents how to sell houses. I teach them about the levels in this. Like, at first, you got to
building wealth. You teach them how to build wealth.
Right. There's levels. Like, the first level is you got to understand how to sell a house. The next level, you got to learn how to sell a bunch of houses. Next level is you got to start paying less taxes by investing and doing these things. Next thing is you got to start reinvesting your money and growing your money and creating that passive income, creating the S Corp, doing these other things. And that's not all happening year one. You don't need an S Corp if you're going to make 70,000 this year.
Exactly. You need to pick up a phone and shut up. Well, you need to pick up a phone and not shut up. You need to pick up the phone and keep talking, but Absolutely. You need to, yeah. And that's the thing. They come in and they go, but Daniel, your whole thing sounds cool, but I think I'm going to probably do it this way. And then you're going, well, then there's the door. I would assume. Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're doing too, because it's like, you don't get it. Daniel's model works. Obvious, right. The number one team in the freaking, region, right? So it's like, that model works. You're going to come in your first 6 months and tell me it doesn't, or tell me that you've got, this or that. And it's like, so yeah, the word's not fall in line, but it's like, have some common sense, right?
Like, shape up or ship out.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you're not, in any profession, you're not coming in day one telling people how to do this because you watched, how to $1 million real estate agent. And you're like, I've watched 6 seasons, like I could watch 6 seasons of Naked and Afraid. I wouldn't last 5 minutes naked in anywhere outside in the wilderness for 2 minutes. I could watch as many episodes as I want. So yeah, I think it's the psychology of it. So all right. So we're looking for talented people for the real estate business. We're also looking for people for the mortgage business as well. What are we looking for there?
So we're on the hunt right now for inexperienced LOs. People have been in like six-ish months, know how to do a couple of deals, and then we'll blow you up. So
you can train them your way.
Yeah. Right. And then outside loan officers that don't work with our group that want to be a part of. One of the unique things about our group is we have all of our own team. So when we get loans underwritten, we have our own dedicated loan underwriters that work our deals. So we don't have to deal with what a lot of lenders call SLAs, right? Which are just like turn times. And when you are a loan officer in a company, you got to just adhere to whatever it is. And if their pipelines get full and your turn times get delayed, then closings are delayed and so on. And we've built a lot of our own stuff. So we have our own dedicated processors, our own dedicated underwriters, our own dedicated docs and funding team. So we have more control over the process from start to finish than your average loan officer that just, does a good job or has been in it for a while. And so we're looking for loan officers experienced 6+ months, and the people that have been in the business for a while and want to get more control of their business and, lower rates. We're looking for processors, dedicated underwriters. Everything that I touch, I want to build and scale. So where we're at now, we're doing about $8 million a month in sales, and we've been doing it for about a year, which is like phenomenal. But now it's how do we grow to 250 million? How do we do to 400 million? How do we continue to grow it? And you can originate a loan while you're on the beach in Miami.
Yeah, very true there. Yeah. All right. So I think people are clear. Should they just go to the main website? Should they call? What's the best way to connect with you guys?
Best way, just shoot me an email and I'll get you with our team that needs to, that will then set up interviews and, Zoom meetings and different things like that to get that all set up. So email is the best way of communication. And yeah, perfect. I'll get that ordered along and get you into our web and have you start talking to our people. And we're not a good fit for everybody.
Sure.
We have really high standards, really high accountability, and we expect greatness from everybody inside of our world.
Yeah. And you help them create that, right? And it's like, that's the best part is, like you said, you're not looking for agents, you're looking for people that want to build wealth and people that want to go on this journey with you. And so I think that's phenomenal. So again, well, we're honored. I can't thank you enough for your time. So for everyone out there, so Daniel Dixon with the Dixon Group at Keller Williams Real Estate here in Denver, Colorado. If you have anyone that's looking to buy or sell real estate, reach out to them. They're going to make sure that not only do you have the best probably real estate experience, but you're going to have the best mortgage experience, and it's packaged all in one stop, which also helps you have all the savings. So, and title and all these things. So the whole thing is that he's creating this experience for you that's going to not only make sure that you have a great experience, but you're going to save some money probably in the process. So that's the fantastic part. And then we'll have his email address, his website, all of that below in the thing. If you liked what you heard today, smash that subscribe button. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, make sure that you leave a comment, give a shout out to Daniel on the comments. Just be like, hey, that really resonated with me, or, put whatever you want. If you have questions for him, comments, whatever it is, thoughts, share it with people. Make sure that they understand that, look, you can do anything you want in this business. We're talking to a professional that used to work in a call center at Trulia and Zillow, and now is the #1 real estate team in the entire region in less than 8 years. So you can do whatever you want, but it's going to take a plan. It's going to take some coaching. It's going to take some mentors, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. And he is the perfect example of that. So shout out to you, Daniel, man. You're an absolute baller. Can't be more impressed with your progression. And again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I appreciate it. And one of the great things about our culture with Keller Williams is everybody's willing to share information, right? It's our office. It's other offices. And I learned early on, if you lead from a place of contribution, you're always going to be in a situation to either win business or influence somebody. So anybody out there I can help, we can drop some knowledge to. I'd love to assist in any way that I can. So just shoot me a message.
No, we appreciate it. He's always there. He's helped me in a lot of stuff. So he's always willing to help. So connect with him, send your mortgage business to him, send your real estate business to him. If you think you have what it takes to be a part of his organization, apply, reach out to him, see if that's going to be the right fit for you. And to all of our listeners out there, like I said, smash that subscribe button, share it with somebody, ring the bell so you get all our latest videos and podcasts. And as always, I wish you great success.